Like I told you guys, we're back with a special guest. Today we have Chuck with American Family Insurance, and he's going to share some great things that you probably don't know and probably don't have on your current home insurance policy. So with that, I'm going to have Chuck talk about himself, what he does, and some great things that we're going to cover.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. Hey, guys. So first and foremost, regardless of what kind of insurance policy you have, I always recommend to clients, friends, family, everybody, review your policies once a year. Mm-hmm. Call your agent, set the appointment, review your policies at least once a year, because those policies can and should change as your life changes.
Yeah.
You know, you get a new car, you build an addition to your home, you have a newborn, you have, all sorts of things can change in the day-to-day life, and insurance policies are designed to change with those. So, that being said, where to start with?
I think that's kind of like a dentist office.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't gone in a couple years, and you're like, you should be more often.
Probably talk to somebody. Yeah. And the first question I always ask people is what are the things you took into consideration when you chose the coverages you have? And do you understand what those coverage levels mean in the event of a loss or a claim?
Yes.
Most of the time, people just go off of whatever their agent recommended, and it doesn't fit their lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it's all about just being educated, And if you don't know, ask, because that's what your agent is there for. That's what I'm here for. One of the main focuses of my agency is just education. Whether you elect to come with me or not, I'm okay with that, because I want you to know what you're getting.
Yes.
And if you do come to me, great. If you don't, you can at least have an educated conversation with your agent or your carrier and make the changes you need to make sure you're properly covered.
Absolutely right.
And part of that actually segues into the next piece, because auto and home, they have different valuation methods for the financial value of something. There's replacement cost value, and there's actual cash value.
Yeah.
You want to make sure everything's set up to replacement cost value, because that takes inflation into account. That also removes the depreciation aspect. So like I was telling Yarrow earlier, you buy a brand new TV today for $1,200. 6 months from now, your home gets broken into, they take the TV. 6 months from now, that TV is not going to be worth $1,200. So if your policy is set up to have actual cash value, you're going to get whatever the value of that TV is on the day it was stolen. If you have replacement cost value, they're going to provide you the money to go out to Costco, to Video Only, to Best Buy, to wherever you want to go, and replace the TV at current market value.
Is there one that's better, or is that something that they get to choose?
It's one or the other. Yeah, and if your agent is not setting you up with replacement cost value, he's not doing you any favors.
Yeah, because then it's like, Gus, say your TV's 5 years old.
Yeah.
You can't get a new TV.
Right.
Or
right.
You can, but it's going to be...
Yeah. Well, like I've got a TV now that it was one of the first big screen, flat screen models that ever came out.
Yeah.
70-inch Samsung.
Yeah.
Probably, I don't even remember how much we paid for it, but the thing's probably only worth $300 or $400 now, if that.
Yeah.
If something were to happen to it, or it got stolen, or even not stolen, maybe the upper floor had a leak and it flooded and it ruined my TV. My insurance company, if I had actual cash value, is only going to give me the $200 or $300.
Yeah.
They're not going to give me $2,200 to go and replace it.
Well, I think people don't realize how fast things depreciate or appreciate, and especially if we're talking about a time like right now where it's inflation, everything's through the roof on cost, up 30 to 50%. Yeah. You want to take advantage of that, otherwise you're really shooting yourself in the foot.
Oh yeah, why leave money on the table if you don't have to?
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah, a lot of it, yeah. Especially in like a major loss situation.
Yeah.
Another piece of specifically homeowners insurance, a lot of people don't know is it doesn't, well, let me rephrase that. The deductible it doesn't come out of your pocket up front.
That's nice.
Yeah. So like auto insurance, you get into a wreck, you have a $500 deductible. You have to pay that first before anything will move forward.
Yes.
With homeowners insurance, it comes off the back end.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Is that with everybody or just particularly what you guys
As far as I know, it's with everybody.
Okay.
Yeah. So an example I use is you have a $10,000 claim, you have a $2,500 deductible.
Yeah.
You're going to get a check for $7,500, and you're nothing out of pocket.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty nice. Another example of that is my mother-in-law. I wrote her policy, of course.
How could you not?
Right. One of the key pieces I put on every single homeowner's policy is equipment breakdown. It's an endorsement, which, if you don't know what that is, it's like an add-on.
Yeah.
Like an added benefit, above and beyond the core protections. And I put that on every policy because it covers every mechanical thing within the house.
Nice.
Refrigerator, freezers, dishwashers, washing machines, furnace,
Okay, wow.
hot water tank, all that stuff. So, and it's, at least with us, it's a $500 deductible and up to $100,000 in coverage.
That's nice.
Yeah. Her reach-in freezer, she had a big, tall freezer in the basement. The compressor died. So she bought a new one. It was only $1,200. No big deal, really. Filed a claim on it. Excuse me. She got a check for $600 and something after the $500 deductible.
Now let me ask you this: does using your policy, because maybe a common misconception, but does using your policy increase your
It can.
policy?
It can. So I would say yes and no on that one. A lot of it'll depend on the claim,
Yeah.
the type of claim. Like a comprehensive claim on an auto policy, which
Yeah.
is replacing a window. Anything that's not a collision.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So something like that isn't going to affect your policy as much as an at-fault accident would.
Okay.
In fact, she's up for renewal with the claim on there, and she's getting a discount. Her rate's dropping.
Nice. Okay.
So it just kind of depends.
I remember last year, there was this huge talk, headline news, kind of like insurance claims are going through the roof. They're increasing. What was that all about? Was that kind of?
Nobody really has a definitive answer as to why. Okay. It is true. Some of the bigger carriers have announced unsettling losses in a quarter, not just over the year, but a quarter.
Yeah.
And part of that, I suspect, is that people are back on the roads.
Yeah.
We went 2 years where everybody was on lockdown, minimal driving. The roads were clear. They weren't crowded like they are now. Everybody's back to work. I mean, even Amazon's talking about pulling people back to the office and making it mandatory, So there's just more people back on the roads again. And, it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
So that's my personal speculation, but I couldn't tell you why. But it is a very real and true thing. Yeah, I mean, and every company is going to take an increase.
Yeah.
For the most part. Within reason. It's just how much.
Yeah.
I can proudly say that I've seen our percentages and we're not going up. We're not even hitting double digits this year. So it's a plus.
Yeah.
It really makes life a lot easier. And it makes it easier for the consumer too, because then you're not unjustly paying for more than what you need.
There you go. Like that.
The real basics for homeowners insurance, you've got 4 categories of coverage on just a basic plan. No extra endorsements, no extra bells and whistles, just a basic plan. Your coverage A, B, C, and D. Coverage A is your dwelling, and that is the valuation on the home that the insurance company will pay you in the event of a total loss.
Yeah.
So if the home burns to the ground, XYZ dollars is how much they're going to give you. That is one of the main factors that your premium is derived from.
Yeah.
Now, that being said too, different companies rate different ways. We at American Family only look at the home. Farmers, they do the home and the land. So your valuation may be higher or lower depending on who you're going through and what their method is.
Okay. Wow. I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of times, and like when I'm doing a quote, I go in through Redfin and Zillow and all the different real estate listing sites, even the assessor's site.
Yeah.
And I'll pull up the parcel and I'll pull up the remodel history and the purchase history and all that kind of stuff to really paint a full picture of it. I forgot where I was going with that.
Well, with Zillow, I guess with Zillow and Redfin, if we're looking at value, land versus home, property,
Right.
and what A, B, and C covers, because I just did a video on Zillow and
Yeah.
the way they changed their numbers, I just went live with a listing and it went from being worth 375 to now $2,000 over what I listed it at 592,
Wow.
just because now it has updated sources of what it thinks it's worth.
Gotcha.
So it's interesting how what's determined? What is your value? Or like tax value, my property taxes went up by nearly $700 because now in the last 2 consecutive years, the property value has gone up by 75,000, which is incorrect because if you're looking at what tax records are and market value, we're so close to the actual value
Yeah.
where that used to be so different.
Right. Well, and that's something too that I've run into some opposition with customers on is they're like, well, I bought the house for this amount and you're only going to rebuild it for this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when you buy the home, you have to deal with taxes. You're dealing with the land. You're dealing with the home. You're dealing with a lot of different pieces that go into that price. All we're looking at is how much is it going to cost to restore the home to what it was pre-incident.
That makes sense.
Insurance is designed to make you whole, not to make you better.
There you go. I feel like though when we get insurance, it's almost like a flex. Like it's
I will say I'm guilty of that too because I was bragging to some of my neighbors. We bought a used boat over the holidays, and I put top shelf coverage on it, and I'm paying like $34 a month. And so I was totally flexing to my neighbors because they all have boats too. I live in a water marine type of neighborhood. And I was like, oh yeah, I got X number of dollars of coverage and I got this and I got that and I only pay $34 a month. Totally flexing.
Check out my insurance policy. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So yeah, it's
Makes you
absolutely a thing. But yeah, I mean it's not supposed to improve anything. It's just supposed to get you back to your daily living.
There you go. I like that.
And that's actually what Coverage D does. So real quick I'll go through the list real quick.
Yeah.
Coverage B is other structures. So you're buying a house, you own a house, you have a 12 by 12 tough shed. It's another structure. Your homeowner's policy won't cover it unless you have allocations for that. Now, you can do a blanket coverage and it'll just say, yep, here's $5,000 across the board for any structure that's not attached to the house. Or we can, what they call schedule it, and it's basically itemizing it and putting a specific price to each building, each outbuilding.
Probably a little bit more money saving that way.
Oh yeah. Well, and peace of mind.
Yeah.
Because hey, I've got a gazebo and it's on my homeowner's policy at $3,000 for like a rebuild value.
Yeah.
We get a windstorm, it takes out the gazebo. Hey, you know what? Unfortunately, I got to make a claim.
Yeah.
But now you can, again, making it whole, not better.
Reminds me of the She Shed commercial.
Yeah.
Burned down.
Or even, I know Bremerton a few years ago, or Kitsap County, they passed an ordinance to where you can build a second dwelling on your property.
Wow. Without like making a whole ADU.
Without making a whole new EDU, yeah.
Or detached
Yeah.
ADU.
Yeah, so you can build a mother-in-law condo, a mother-in-law apartment, whatever, on your property, but your homeowner's policy won't cover it.
Nope.
So you'd have to get,
have to get
separate structures. And then I would completely recommend the person who moves in there make sure they have renter's insurance.
Yeah, renters.
You know?
Renter is a huge one.
Yeah.
And a lot of people watching this video might be renters currently because I help a lot of first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
You're currently a renter. Like this applies to you because you should have an insurance policy because you're upstairs.
Oh, your
neighbor.
upstairs neighbor, yeah, and your apartment complex, your landlord, whoever, they're only responsible for the walls and the appliances.
Yep.
So the physical structure and maintenance of the building, of the house, of the whatever, that's all they're responsible for. If your upstairs neighbor has a leak and you lose everything in your closet due to water damage,
Not covered.
not covered. Which is a great segue into coverage C, which is personal property.
There you go.
And I always explain personal property like if you took your home, no matter what it is, you open every door, you open every window, you turn it upside down, you shake your home like a salt shaker. Everything that falls out is personal property.
Even $100,000 in cash. I'm just kidding.
That might be a liquid asset.
That might be a
but-
problem. If that's your problem, you might want to share that with me.
Yeah, right. I won't say anything, but yeah. So silverware, pots, pans, dishes, clothes, electronics, furniture,
Antiques.
antiques. In fact, there's endorsements for special collections. I have a Funko Pop collection that's worth quite a bit of money. I have it itemized out on my policy,
Yeah.
so that, God forbid anything happens, I can at least recover the funds.
Yeah.
Whether I choose to replace the collection or not is my choice, but I can at least recover the funds that I've put into it. It's vitally important that people understand what personal property is, because that's the biggest piece of making you whole
Yeah.
in the event of a loss. The last one, coverage D, loss of use. So you're in a home, let's say it's a 1980s split level with bedrooms above the garage, living space, and then like a family room downstairs.
Yeah.
Windstorm comes through, tree falls, takes out 2 of the bedrooms above the garage. What are you going to do? You got to repair the home,
Yeah.
but what are you going to do about eating, sleeping, taking showers, getting ready? Your daily life is completely disrupted.
Yeah.
So coverage D, loss of use, provides funding to live off-site while your home is being repaired.
This is crucial for 2 reasons. A, I mean, we have a little mild storm coming through our thing, right? Something can happen, something can fall, but more important, like things that just happened in Ohio.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't, I bet you everybody's running to their insurance now. They're like, hey, sorry, you didn't have A, B, and C.
Yeah. Well, and I lived in an apartment many, many moons ago out in Puyallup, and it was one of the years the Puyallup River flooded.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they flooded the first floor apartments. All of those people were displaced because they have to recover, they have to do the repair, they have to get rid of the water, they have to take care of any mold and mildew issues, all that kind of stuff. The complex was really good about finding places for people to go. But eventually the resources are going to run out.
Yes.
So what if you need to go and stay at an extended stay America or a Best Western or something for 6 months, 8 months, a year? How are you going to afford that? Loss of use. And then the expectation with that, and this is, the wording might be a little different, but as soon as you as the homeowner are given the green light to move back in, the coverage stops. So you can't go, oh, well, I want to wait another month before I go back to my home. You can't do that.
Yeah. I'm going to go live in Florida for 6 months.
Right,
Come
right.
back.
Like, it's just not a thing. So,
I know they're thinking about it. I'm going to take advantage of this loss of use.
I wouldn't go to Florida, though.
It's a little humid. It's quite
A
different.
little humid from what we have up here, yeah. And it's those 4 pieces that really build the homeowner's policy. Beyond that, like some of the key endorsements, and one of the big ones that I think everybody needs to be aware of, whether you're buying a home, whether you're a current homeowner, whether you're thinking about it, is service line. So service line coverage, it's an endorsement. It covers water, sewer, and electrical from the city connection to the home. So, and if you're on septic, it's the home to the tank. The reason this is important is that is their responsibility. The utility company will only take it to the curb.
Yep, that's right.
From the curb to the home is like no man's land.
Yep.
Inside the home, your homeowner's policy will cover it. So what about that section?
My neighbor just had that happen about 6 months ago. I saw a bunch of crews out. I asked her what's going on. She's like, well, I think there's a crack or some sort. Oof. Didn't have insurance. I don't believe she covered insurance, but it was. I was double check if she used it, but it was a $15,000 thing to replace and fix, and apparently it's been going on for a while. So
yeah, well, and it's like ours. I because of where we're at, we're in a really rural neighborhood. We've got a septic line. The lowest point in the home runs to the tank on the other side of the home, under the foundation. It's going to be $25,000 minimum just to break up the foundation to get to the break once they've identified it. It's insanely expensive. And trees can break your line.
Bushes, roots.
Bush roots, yep. It can even be something as simple as like you want to dig down and put in a recessed planter box,
Yeah.
or you want to do a ground level hot tub.
Yeah.
Something like that. And you dig and you hit a pipe and you're on your own. It's not the utility company's responsibility anymore. It's yours. It's on your property.
I think that's another common misconception, because like when I have people buy a house, we offer in Tacoma especially a side sewer scope. And they're like, well, why would I spend $400 doing this? Well, because that there might be a blockage you don't even know, and you don't know what it's made out of. A lot of them are, older material, have cracks in them, leaks, whatever.
Yeah.
And if you have identified that beforehand, 20 grand is in your pocket versus, this is something that happens later on. Say you do the side sewer scope, but then you live in your home, and things always tend to happen after you move in.
Oh, always.
A water heater leak, whatever.
Yeah,
Like, always happens
happens.
the moment you move in. So that's awesome that that's there as well.
Yeah. The other one, really, really, I feel it's very important for especially new homeowners is, and this is something, as far as I know, it's exclusive to American Family, AmFam. It's called hidden water coverage. And what that is say you're moving into a new house and the seller just kind of slammed appliances in place so you had something for the sale.
Yeah.
Well, what if that connection behind the dishwasher is loose and it leaks and it's 8-9 months before you notice water damage under your cabinets, on your kitchen floor, things like that? What do you do then?
Yeah.
Hidden water coverage will help take care of that. And it's specifically for the unseen, unknown things. Another example I use is if you're moving into your new home and you're hanging up those family portraits on the wall and you nick a water pipe in the wall with a nail. It's happened. It happens more often than not. Yeah. And again, 2-3 months before you even notice anything going on, the wall looks a little soggy, the carpet's a little mushy. What the heck is happening?
That's what it was.
Hidden water.
It's interesting. All these scenarios you're bringing up are scenarios that happen more than you think. I've only been in real estate for 6 years, yet half of these things has happened to my clients. The one you just said about water,
Yeah.
it was a flip. I won't mention the agency that flipped it. I'm not a big fan of them. Maybe one day. Anyways, I won't call them out on this video, but they did a poor job on the remodel to begin with. There was a lot of red flags. I mentioned it to my client. He still loved the home. He bought. He might be watching this video at one point, and there was a leak, and he couldn't figure out where it was coming from. Well, at some point, the connection from either it was the dishwasher or the water main, whatever, to the house, there was a leak, and it was so slow at first it wasn't noticeable. But because the crack got bigger over time, his whole first level of his house flooded.
Yep.
He calls me. He's like, "Yarrow, call the agent and have him replace it." I'm like, "It's your home now. Call your policy. Maybe they might replace it. I don't know if they will." I'm pretty sure he had AmFam because they covered it.
Good.
I mean, maybe if that's exclusive, like you say, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, that would have been easily a 20 grand out of pocket. You don't have that kind of money.
No.
What are you going to do? I mean, you just get a loan out. What?
I don't know anybody that has that kind of money just willy-nilly pulling up. Another big one in Tacoma that we see quite often because of the older houses is the construction materials they used. They used metal piping. And over time it corrodes.
Yes.
It gets weak. The connections get weak. Things like that. And you can have a random leak and not ever know.
Yep.
An example I found when I was selling my dad's condo out in Gig Harbor. The previous owner had replaced the hot water tank, the high pressure relief valve. It was supposed to be plumbed out down into the crawl space and out the side of the house.
Right.
Well, this guy cut corners every chance he could. It was plumbed down and out into the crawl space.
No.
That was it. And that high pressure valve failed.
Oh, no.
And so it started leaking into the crawl space, but they didn't have enough copper into the space, so it leaked on the foundation beams. It leaked and caused dry rot and all sorts of issues, structural issues to the home. And it had been, my dad lived in that condo for 15 years.
Yeah.
So it had potentially been a slow leak for 15 years. How are you going to recover that kind of, I mean,
Oh man.
I got an estimate to repair, and then I knocked that value off the cost of the home. But
for sure.
like, it's insane. I mean, I didn't have 50 grand to turn around and repair that.
Yeah.
You know, so this kind of thing would be the coverage piece that they need. Probably the biggest takeaway in any form of insurance: call your agent before you file a claim. Because if you've got, let's say a $700 claim, and your deductible is $500, wait.
Yeah.
Save up the other $200. That would be my honest advice.
Yeah.
But now if you have a $10,000 claim and you have a $2,500 deductible,
Yeah.
and it's a homeowner's policy, make the claim.
That's what it's there for.
That's what it's there for. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's to make you whole, not make you better. So, yeah.
I love that. I mean, there's just so many questions, so many misconceptions in the field of home ownership and insurance. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't want to get insurance because they're like, well, I'm saving money, but are you?
Right. Right.
50, even a simple policy.
Yeah. Well, and in Washington State, you cannot file bankruptcy to avoid a civil penalty. So, scenario in case you get into a really bad car accident, it's your fault. You don't have insurance. So the other person's insurance is coming after you for the damages.
Yep.
You can't file bankruptcy and that goes away.
Yeah.
That will follow you until it's paid off or until a settlement is reached in court. And I mean, it
That's
can
ugly.
be ugly and expensive and drawn out. And yeah,
That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up.
yeah. I mean, I don't like writing state minimum, but I will if I need to.
Yeah.
Because something is just like with life insurance. Something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
And most of the time it's pretty cheap. So
That's awesome. Well, I feel like we scratched the surface. We could probably go on hours and hours on end.
there's several rabbit holes we could go
Yeah.
down and spend hours talking about
Just
it.
scenarios alone. And so,
Yeah.
well, hopefully this has, educated you a little bit more on insurance, have given you a little bit of things to think about if you don't have insurance or you're thinking about buying a home here soon. And really considering this ahead of time, especially when you are in that whole lender process and whatnot, considering who you take your insurance policy from, because they will ask for it. And at that point, you'd be, hey, this was great information. Again, I'll in the description of the video, I'll put Chuck's information so you guys can reach out and ask more questions, get a quote, and make sure you're safeguarded, especially in uncertain times.
Oh yeah. Well, and yeah, I mean, everybody's kind of doing their own thing nowadays.
Yep.
And you never know what's going on in the next person's world, and it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah. The fact of the matter is, it's one thing. This is one of those things. It's like taxes. You never want to get it done, but it needs to get done.
Yeah.
So just at least call. I mean, you just never know. I mean, there's scenarios where people got insurance claim and used it the next month or that same month. So I mean, I'd hate to have that conversation with you as a buyer where you're like, well, is this covered? And it wasn't, and you're a brand new homeowner. The last thing you want to worry about are things failing on you. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful. Again, if you wanted to reach out and have more, maybe more detailed questions you want to ask, you'll reach out to Chuck. I'm here on the home side, so I'll be like, hey, I don't know. Ask Chuck. He's your insurance guy. So make sure you're reviewing your policy. If you haven't done that, this is a perfect time. As you're doing your taxes, dig up some of the stuff that you haven't been looking at for the last year, decade. I don't know. Hopefully it hasn't been a decade, but just make sure you're safe and make sure you review your stuff. So hopefully that helps.
I would say just try to reach out at daylight savings time in the spring.
There you go.
That way it's a consistent every year thing. Just like you're supposed to be changing your smoke detector batteries at daylight savings time.
About that.
Supposed to be. I don't do it either. I probably should though.
But we probably should. Now that's gonna be a separate video.
Now I have a task when I get home tonight. I'm gonna change the batteries in all my smoke detectors.
Yes, it's gonna haunt you. You won't be able to go to sleep without it.
It will. It will.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Leave in the comments of what other topics you want me to cover, and or if you have questions, you can just leave them in the comments. Until next time.